Welcome race fans, I'm Tom Spanners Watson.
And I'm Frank the Guru Gibbs.
And welcome to round number 2 of Racing Legends.
After the first round, the two slowest drivers were eliminated, so we've only got 4 drivers, and we're running the points a little bit different this time. We're doing 6, 4, 2, 1, and of course our special DNF, either 0 or half points, depending on how you finish.
Looking at the cars that are in tonight's race, starting off with the Ford GT40 Mark IV.
Just a ripper of a car.
Then one of the 2 Ford Mustang Fastbacks, this one's number 20.
I still don't think he's got a shot.
Then there's a number 8 Ford GT40.
You've got to figure one of these low-slung beasts is going to take it out.
And then finally the number 1 Ford Mustang Fastback.
Well, no matter what happens tonight, I'm pretty confident that a Ford's going to win it.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty safe bet. But it's business time, let's get these drivers up and put them to work.
Now, just like normal, every driver will get a shot in every spot as they rotate around after each race.
So we've got the Mark IV on the inside lane, the number 1 Mustang on the outside, looking pretty tight between the 2 Mustangs. The Mark IV starts to lose control. Here come the Mustangs. It is absolute carnage as they cross the finish line.
Let's just jump back to the Granny's Muffins replay and find out who crossed the line where there. So you've got the Mark IV going across, and then it looks like the number 1 Mustang goes through, and oh, look at that GT40 at the back trying to get under the Mustang like he did in the previous race. But it's number 9, then number 1, and then number 20, and finally the number 8 GT40.
So a super tight finish to kick us off. Every one of these drivers wants to take out the title.
So that Mark IV making the most of his number 1 start, taking out the win. But also that number 1 Mustang now moves across into the inside lane. It'll be interesting to see if he can pick up a win here as well.
Well, we know from the Canyon it's definitely not guaranteed just because you're on the inside, but he gets a good start there. The GT40 trying to go around the outside, he gets ahead, looking good. Oh, he goes up on his side. The Mustang's pushing through. The Mark IV right on his tail, and the other Mustang makes a challenge right as he crosses the finish line, and the poor number 8 GT40 left spinning at the back of the track.
As we go through the Granny's Muffins replay, that GT40 had a huge lead there, but he got out on the side, almost pulled off a sidewinder, but blew it. And then the Mustang came around the GT40 Mark IV right on his tail, and then both of them pulled to the inside. I thought that Mark IV was going to slip by, and then look at this other Mustang challenging there, the number 20, trying to move up a spot, but he just couldn't do it. But he does pick up 2 points for 3rd place.
So we've got a tie for 1st place so far. We've got the Mark IV and the number 1 Mustang on 10 points.
It was disappointing for the GT40. He's got one more shot at the front row in this round. Let's see if he can keep it together and do the business.
So we've got the number 20 Mustang on the outside. The Mark IV close and behind. The GT40 it pulls him to second. Oh, the Mustang goes over. Are these drivers going to be able to push past? It looks like they will. Oh, the Mustang goes through and takes the win. He comes through from the back row and takes the win. What a great drive.
That was absolutely superb. That front Mustang, for some reason, just cut the corner, got up on that side rail. That flipped him over. And then the Mustang behind was sandwiched between 2 GT40s. And look at the way that Mark IV tries to drift up the inside of him. You'll see it on this angle. So watch the car at the back there. He comes in, tries to drift up the inside, but the Mustang saw him coming, gave it the beans and gets ahead. And then on the final push to the finish line, look at this, the Mustang manages to creep through ahead of the GT40, and a huge challenge here from the Mark IV, but he will end up in 3rd place and the GT40 picks up 2nd.
So that puts the number 1 Mustang with that win into 1st place, and he takes a 4-point lead over the Mark IV.
Both the Mark IV and that number 1 Mustang seem to be pulling into the lead and just leaving the other 2 in their dust.
Well, as we head into the final race in the first half, we've got the Mark IV up front next to the number 20 Mustang. The other GT40 seems to have stalled out in the start gate there. Here comes the number 1 Mustang pushing up the inside, gets into 2nd place, a beautiful drive there, and he'll hold on as they cross the finish line, and that GT40 coming in last place.
Another superb drive by that number 1 Mustang. Look at this, he just picked his line going over the jump, gets up the inside there, door to door as they go around Kahuna Corner, but he managed to get the power down out of Kahuna Corner a little bit earlier, and that just slotted him into 2nd place. What a great drive.
Careful, Frank, that sounded like a compliment to a Mustang.
Oh, mate, I know they've had a terrible record on the Canyon, but credit where credit's due. That was a great drive, and he holds on to the number 1 spot now with 20 points, closely followed by the Mark IV, and the other 2 are almost looking like they're out of it.
It certainly looks like we've got 2 races developing. We've got the 2 front drivers neck and neck, and then the 2 back drivers miles behind, but also neck and neck with each other.
Well, it's time again for us to take a short break and pay some bills. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back, race fans. Time to get excited as we head into the final round. Now, what we've done is we've switched the positions of the 2 GT40s. This is to give the drivers a chance behind a different car this time, rather than being stuck behind the same one as the last time.
So that means the number 8 is starting in the front row this time, next to the number 1 Mustang.
The GT40 and the number 20 Mustang have got a lot of points to make up here. Can he do it? He's holding on to the lead, but there goes the number 1 Mustang up the front. Oh, the GT40 gets through. Cars are going in all directions, and they all stall out right before the finish line.
Do you think maybe Granny had her muffins out by the side of the track and that's why they stopped?
Well, Granny is the main sponsor. Maybe they wanted to stop and thank her.
That number 1 Mustang did such a great job to get into the lead, but then he opened the door, the GT40 went through, but then somehow everybody seemed to lose all sense of direction and they all just parked sideways on the track. Absolutely ridiculous, but they will all pick up half points of the position they finished in.
So there's only a half-point gap now between the 2 top drivers, but the other 2 are still well behind, but the 3 races left, there's still enough points in it.
So we've got the number 1 and number 2 driver both starting in the front row. Who's going to take the win this time?
Well, the Mark IV jumps out to a big lead here. He's looking good as he goes over the number 1 Mustang trying to catch up, but he's not going to do it by the look of it. The number 9 will take the win. Oh, 2 Mustangs cross the line side by side. I'm not sure which one was which.
Let's just have a look at it in slow-mo. I think the number 1 Mustang came through first. Here he goes. Yes, he did. And the number 20 Mustang comes in 3rd place. And then finally, the GT40 finally crawled across the line.
So with that, the Mark IV now moves into the lead with 26 points. The number 1 Mustang right behind him on 24.5 points. The other 2, I would say, are well out of it at this point, but it is an absolute nail-biter for the top spot.
Well, the Mark IV gets to start on the inside front row. He's got the number 1 Mustang right on his tail, but he's going to have to pull something out of the bag to get in front here.
Well, they get over the jump, looking good. Oh, the Mark IV goes wide! The Mark IV goes wide and the number 1 Mustang will take the win!
That is a highly uncharacteristic error there by the Mark IV. Oh, and there goes the number 20 Mustang. Nice of him to join us. Oh, but look at that. The number 8 GT40's on his roof.
Well, let's go back through the Granny's Muffins replay and find out why.
Look at that huge lead by the Mark IV. He had such a good lead. And oh, look at that GT40 comes sideways across the jump, catches his wheel on the rim and just flips right over. But then up front here, the GT40 Mark IV just goes wide and that other Mustang was not going to let him get away with that. Runs down to the finish line for a beautiful win. And with that, he's going to move back into the lead, I believe.
And even though the number 20 Mustang will come across the line as well and pick up some extra points, it's not really going to help him get anywhere near the leaders.
Man, I love it when these final races are so close. Look at that. We go into the final race and there is half a point in it. Anybody could win this one. And we've got the 2 top drivers starting in the back row, which will make it even more interesting.
So as the pins drop for the last time, we've got the number 20 Mustang and the number 8 GT40 in the front row. The Mustang out with a good lead here. Oh, the number 1 Mustang looks like he's slowing down. It's a race to the finish and the Mark IV gets through to 2nd place. And the 2nd Mustang raced through at the finish line, but I don't think he managed to get to 3rd place.
The number 20 Mustang had a great run up front, and then the number 1 Mustang, not so much. He seemed to slide sideways over the jump. He managed to get himself back together, but look at the battle for 2nd and 3rd here. The Mark IV just picked a beautiful line, gets around the other GT40, and then the number 1 Mustang did everything he could, but he just couldn't get that extra position.
So as we wrap up the scores, the GT40 disappointing with 12 points, the number 20 Mustang with 17, the number 1 Mustang with 31.5, but congratulations to your winner, the number 9 GT40 Mark IV.
Oh mate, that car is absolutely superb. Not only does it look amazing, it drives fantastically and it was hard to beat, but I've got to say props to that Mustang. He put up an awesome fight, made it a really interesting battle, but just lost out right in that last race.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed the racing. If you have, remember to like the video, comment, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe.
And if you'd like to know more about the channel memberships, just click the join button and that will show you all of the options there.
We've got one more special race coming up for these Golf livery cars, so make sure you tune in next week and check that one out. Alright, thanks very much for watching. I'm Tom Spanners Watson, he's Frank the Guru Gibbs. We look forward to seeing you next time.